soon.
Thank you to everyone for joining us for our second student town hall. The last year has been challenging to say the least. We've experienced many changes from what we thought of our college experience and would like to due to COVID-19. These student town hall events were created to provide more transparency about the university's COVID-19 response by giving students both the opportunity as well as the channel to ask university leadership questions about the response and the spring semester. Students have been asked to submit questions online and we received a number of responses. Thank you to everyone who submitted their questions. If your question was not asked tonight, we encourage you to submit your questions for our next town hall. Tonight, to answer your questions, we have Vice President of Student Affairs, Erin Hoffmann Harding, as well as Vice President for Campus Safety and University Operations, Mike Seamon.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Amanda. Good to be here.
Of course. So for our first question, it's pre-recorded and it comes from Madelyn Stout.
Hi, I'm Madelyn Stout. I'm a freshman in Walsh Hall, and my question is, we're seeing an increase in cases roughly a week and a half, 2 weeks since the majority of students got here. Why did the university not quarantine us upon arrival, despite many students going through different modes of travel? Thank you.
Mike and Erin are here to address this question. Which of you would like to respond?
You know what, Amanda, maybe I'll take a crack at it and open it up, and Erin, please, as always, add anything you want. That's a great question, I think, Madelyn, on testing. So basically, we built our what we call return to campus or pre-matriculation testing program with our medical team and with Dr. Mark Fox from the County Health Department. I know many of you know him, and he's been a great advocate and resource for us as we kind of navigate our way through this, these unprecedented and challenging times. So the idea was we would cascade people arrival over a course of about 5 or 6 days. Only so many people in so many dorms could come in. And what we were doing was leveraging the saliva test platform. We've talked about that all the time. The fact that we could do high volume tests with saliva PCR and get a quick turnaround, meaning 7, 8 a.m. the next morning, you would know. And so we built this program. And we asked everybody from the time you test that day to that evening to lay low and quarantine, self-quarantine, until you got the results the next morning. And then if your roommate or somebody else came in the next day, this was going to allow us to bring people back in a very structured way and a safe way. And again, County Health and Mark Fox signed off on it. Then we knew once we had everybody pre-matric tested, and we pulled the ones who tested positive right out and put them in isolation and remove them from the population, if you may, so we would not have any spread. But then we went right into the spring surveillance, and that cadence of going straight from pre-matric to spring surveillance testing, so basically every student was going to test every week, was this way that we were going to catch any spread that would be coming in. So it was very intentional. It's been working, although I'll have to admit, if anybody's paying attention to the dashboard, and we ask that you do, today again at noon, we had a posting of 49 positive cases from yesterday, and that is concerning. It has all of our full attention. I know it has Erin's, it has mine, it has the docs and UHS, it has the whole administration. And so we're watching this daily. And I think even on top of this robust testing platform or regimen that we've created thanks to the saliva testing is getting back to the fundamentals of doing the right things of wearing masks, physical distancing, washing hands. And we hear over and over again that the simple guidelines like that are what's really making the difference. So you're going to hear me say tonight, depending on the questions over and over again, just commit to doing the right things, particularly when nobody else is watching. And we're going to take this day by day. So I don't know, Erin, if I missed anything, especially with the return testing and the dorms.
That was a great summary, Mike. But I'd reiterate how carefully the university and all of us are watching the trends that we're seeing on campus. And I just want to thank and implore students to keep it up in terms of the great compliance with surveillance testing, but also, as Mike said, that mask wearing we know is critically important at all times when you're gathered and around others to keep all of us safe and healthy.
Thank you, Mike and Erin. Our next question comes from Annika Nielsen-Kim.
Hi, my name is Annika Nielsen-Kim, and I'm a law student. My question is, if we would like to be tested on another day, in addition to our surveillance testing day, may we request a test?
To add to Annika's question, we also have received inquiries about switching test days. Do you guys have anything to add to both of these questions?
Erin, can I start on that? Let me try this. So the two things you asked, Amanda, could you switch test days? And Annika asked if they wanted to get tested another day, right?
Yes.
Did I hear that right? Okay. So kind of going back to my first point of the saliva testing center, unbelievable. If you haven't found them, to find a way to say thank you, Dr. Mike Frender, Melissa Williams in the saliva lab, it's in McCourtney Hall. Them and a very talented team have developed all this. And it's been a game changer for us to be able to do such a high volume of testing and get a really quick turnaround time. For those of you who might remember last summer, if you try to get a test anywhere, it would take you 10, 14 days to get a result. We're getting results thanks to them. They keep the lab open to about 1 a.m. every night, so that by the time everybody wakes up the next morning, you get results. So our job is to leverage the capacity of that lab to the greatest extent we can. So testing every undergrad and professional student, like law student, like you, Annika, once a week, testing our faculty staff every other week. And then we also overlay what we call supplemental testing. So if we see a hot spot on campus or something that's concerning, we want to be able to over-test in an area to find out what's happening. All that capacity, if you look at the dashboard, we are testing between 23 and 2,500 people a day. And I have a very special place in my heart, not only for the people in the saliva lab, but the people who are running the testing center. And this like orchestration, think of like it's like the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, so many things coming and going and the timing of it and getting the test over to the lab. It's taking a lot of people, some great effort by a great number of people to make this work. The limiting factor of that, all that said, is that we don't have the flexibility to let people change times, right? Once people selected their day and we gave everybody the chance. And to be honest, I've heard a couple of people say, well, it's inconvenient. We're letting people come anytime from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. during the week. It's 10 to 3 on weekends, and giving them all day to come and spit, if you may. And it's the problem we have is this is so orchestrated, and the high volumes that we're putting through that whole testing center, we can't allow for changes. And we're also working with Erin's team and Office of Community Standards to make sure we're adhering to compliance, right? This is one part of the compact. This is one part of our shared commitment to come back. So you add all that together, we don't have the flexibility that we wish we had. I can't change my day. I go every other Wednesday is my day to go test. And that flexibility, the beauty of it is we're getting a lot done in a quick, short period of time. The tough thing is we have so many people slotted in there. We don't have the flexibility to change that. So I know it's inconvenient. I know it might not be ideal, but to be honest, if you look across the country and to be able to get a test and get it returned in 12 to 24 hours, and the test is only taking, 2-3 minutes to do it, it's phenomenal. Amanda, I want to add one thing. I don't mean to go on this. We saw at a class change, or the people did over at the staff over at the testing site the other day. It was on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We see the biggest time is around 10:50 in the morning, right during class change, where you get a couple hundred students. And they timed it last week, and it took less than 4 minutes for everybody to get through who was in a line. So a lot of student workers in the saliva line, if you can see them in the green shirts, they are just knocking it out of the park. And so I just love that team for getting so many people, 2,500 people a day to test. So Erin, again, I'm sorry I might have gone on there, but I don't know if I missed anything.
Thanks for the in-depth answer, Mike. For our next question, we have a submission from Cole Carpenter.
Hi, my name's Cole Carpenter and I'm a junior living in Dillon Hall. My question is, will the university be adopting the CDC's updated guidance stating that individuals meeting certain criteria after receiving both doses of the Pfizer or Moderna COVID-19 vaccine will not be subject to quarantine following exposure to COVID-19?
Great question from Cole. Let's go to our HERE team for a response.
Thanks, Amanda. The vaccine, God, don't we all just want that vaccine so bad? We're so hopeful. We're so excited. It's coming. It will get here. We're saying our prayers and crossing our fingers that it gets here sooner than later. Okay, for those students, and I know there are some who have been vaccinated. Couple things. Number one, if you've become fully vaccinated, meaning you've received your second dose of either Pfizer or Moderna, the thing that we're going to ask is to talk to UHS and to upload your results, if you may, or your verification to Pyramid through UHS. So just like you would any other vaccination that you have or any other test result that you may have throughout the year, that's the first step. So if you successfully complete your second dose, we ask you to, so we can act upon this, to upload your results, if you may, or your verification that you've received it. This, again, working with Dr. Mark Fox, 2 weeks after you get your second dose. So 2 weeks after that, in conjunction with the CDC, you would not need to quarantine if you were seen as a close contact. That's correct. It would be 2 weeks after, because that's when the full effect of both doses take hold. But we would do this. We would mandate that you would still test. I said last week on this, it was a question, what we do know about the vaccines in the early stages is it prevents serious symptomatic illness on you as an individual. You will not get seriously ill. That's what the data shows. But we don't know if you will still be able to get it or transmit it. So because of that, we're still going to test you, and you would still have to be in all the surveillance tests and come there, because we would want to make sure what's happening, but you would not go into quarantine as a close contact. So great question. I anticipate much more of this coming in the weeks, because this is a quickly evolving, rapidly unfolding element of COVID, but it's one we're all excited about. This is something we're looking forward to.
Thank you, Mike. I believe our next question is from Alex.
Hello, my name's Alex. I'm a senior in Seyfried Hall, an RA as well. And my question is, if there's anything that can be done to expand the slots at the Smith Center on every hour. They usually fill up within a few minutes, and I worry that the lack of spots will push people to go work off campus where there's easier availability, but maybe less COVID restrictions or less oversight on general health precautions. Especially in the winter months, I think it's more important than ever to have people be able to get some workouts in and exercise in order to take care of themselves. Thanks.
I believe this is a follow-up question from the gym last week, so let's check in with our HERE team to hear their response.
Thanks, Amanda, and thanks, Alex. This one's for me, and you're right, Amanda, it did come up last week, and as I promised in that conversation, it actually came out in the Student Affairs newsletter today. So the rec sports team has gone back and they have rearranged some additional pieces of the schedule. And so starting on Monday, the 22nd, students should see some additional time slots, but they have gone as far as possible within our safety capacity. So we have nothing more to give. And in fact, they went back and worked so hard to make possible what we've got. So Alex, I completely agree. We want students to get out, to get exercise. That's why we're trying to make some outdoor activities available, even in this winter and the snow. But we are at the max health and safety protocol capacity at Smith and our other facilities.
Erin, don't you think today's probably not the day to do it with the snowfall we had last night, and we are like in the grips of winter, but it's also mid-February. So hopefully let's keep our fingers crossed that the weather only gets better from here on in and not worse. So that's something to look forward to. That's something to be hopeful for. I think just to get people outside again more regularly. So.
Being from Florida, I'm super excited for the warmer weather too.
Amanda, you may be waiting just a little while. Mike's is well placed, but since you're a first year, it can snow almost any time that you're here with us for the spring semester.
How exciting. Well, it's exciting to hear about the new gym slots. Our next question comes from Veronica.
Hi, my name's Veronica Slevin. I'm a first year in Pascagoula West Hall, and my question is, what progress is Notre Dame making to becoming a vaccination distributor, and is there any possibility that students will become vaccinated this semester?
Great question. I know we all had flu shots last semester, and I would be excited to get a COVID vaccine. What do you guys have to say about this, Erin or Mike?
I, Veronica, that's a great question from P-Dub. And Amanda, this is the thing that gets, that we were just talking about a minute ago, is really exciting and hopeful. So we're working with the state health department as we speak to become a COVID vaccine site for what we call the Notre Dame pod, or the Notre Dame community. Think faculty, staff, students, et cetera. And we feel pretty good about it. We're still working through that process and are hopeful that things will turn out well. Our goal is to get that process so that when the whole thing is hung up on, or the whole thing is centered around the supply of the vaccines themselves, which is being dictated by the federal and the state governments. What we want to do is to be a vaccine center and work as part of the state health department's vaccination plan. And when we do, and those supply lines open up and those supply chains open up, that we can vaccinate everybody. Now, here's the key. Here's the thing. It's not like, Amanda, that was a great comparator of the flu blitz in October, where the university procures thousands of vaccines and give them out over 2, 3, 4 days over the stadium. We're not allowed, because of the supply chain, to be able to get that many at one time. We will get, if we are successful in becoming a site, we'll get incremental amounts, just like all these other sites across the state are. And then what we'll have to do is distribute them to the Norton community, but in the pecking order that is outlined by the state. Right now it's 65 and older, and we're looking forward to it being 60 and above, 55 and above, and all the way down. My hope, and especially if you look at later this month with the J&J vaccine, hopefully getting emergency use authorization and getting deployed, joining Moderna, joining Pfizer, that those supply lines in April and May will really open up. As soon as the state gives us enough vaccines, if we're a site, and as soon as they say college-age students can be there, we're going to give it out. So, but it's going to be dictated by them, not by us. Our job is to have a site and have a structure ready so that we can take any vaccines they give us and we can deploy them quickly to the eligible populations at that time. So I really am hopeful, but it's too early to tell. Keep lighting grotto candles, everybody. We want more vaccines quicker into all of society so we can get this thing, so we can head towards herd immunity, right? That's what it's all about. So that's a great question. I love it.
Mike, I wonder if I might add something on this one. I think that we've heard from some local community feedback that might be helpful clarity. As much as the university, as Mike said, we're really working hard and want to be helpful on behalf of the state and our campus community to administer the vaccines. The short answer for students right now is, under the state of Indiana criteria, students are not eligible. And the feedback that we have heard is that there have been some calls made to local pharmacies and some confusion about congregate living. And we've gotten very clear guidance from the local health department that at this point in Indiana, our students in our population are not eligible to receive the vaccine right now. So I hope that's helpful clarity. We're hoping and all eagerly looking forward to the day when there is wider availability. But right now, I would ask students to wait for our place in line when we're all eligible for the vaccine later as the supply changes.
Erin, that's really well said. And you and I both know we talk to Dr. Mark Fox often on a variety of topics, including this one. And I think Dr. Fox would stress over and over again, don't take a vaccine from someone who needs it, who is eligible for it now. Again, we're hopeful that this thing will break open in the coming weeks and months in terms of supplies. But right now, think of people who need that vaccine in that category, and that's the right thing. That's the right thing to do. So that's well said, Erin. That's great.
Yes. I agree. Hopefully we'll get them soon. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Up next, we have a question from Katie about Junior Parents Weekend.
Hi, my name is Katie Lucenko, and I'm a junior in Pascagoula East. My question is, why can't Junior Parents Weekend be pushed to senior year so the juniors can have an in-person experience with their loved ones?
Any
Katie.
insight on this question?
Oh, thanks, Amanda. That's my fault. JPW is such a wonderful tradition at ND, and I am sad for the junior class that we've asked them to go virtual this spring, but we really think it's necessary for the health and safety of everybody. Practically, I think, as she indicated, given the university's visitor policy this spring, we can't invite parents and guardians, much as we would love to do so. And unfortunately, fall is still too uncertain. And so we really are hoping, and I know the junior class committee is working really hard on planning something virtually, and I have every confidence that they will come up with something creative and memorable in its own way. And hopefully this class can enjoy that very unique experience and then look forward, I very much hope, to a normal commencement as we look forward to 2022.
For our next question, we have a submission from Tessa.
Hi, my name's Tessa Klein. I'm a senior living off campus now, but previously in Farley. And my question is if the dining tents and quad lodges are safer as regards COVID than being inside, since they are enclosed on all four sides.
Thanks, Tessa, for that question. Let's go to our HERE team for some input.
Thanks, Amanda. I think, Tessa, that's a very thoughtful question. That's a well thought out question. So on the tents, and we've been in all of them, the idea of the tents was to create more space where we could still physically distance and spread out. So think of it as a de-densification of the dining halls, right? So we had to put whatever, 25 to 30% in the dining halls. We wanted to create additional spaces. So just think of it as a duplicative effort of what we already have in North and South Dining Hall, and even in the lodges. So that's the fundamental principle behind it. I'm happy to say that Notre Dame Fire Department, Risk Management Safety, utilities, and everybody has been looking at how do we, operate these safely, including the ventilation. Number one, this is something maybe no one thinks about, but I love it being an operations person. Notre Dame Utilities being able to heat those things with the steam tunnels from underneath the quads, even in this coldest weather we've had these last 5 or 6 days, it was very innovative, very creative of how they found a way to do it. If you look, to get to the ventilation, Tessa, part of your question is we've been testing the circulation in there, and it's solid. It's exactly what we need. So the combination between doors opening and closing as people come and go, you see the fan on one side of it. And if you really look hard on the wall across from the fans, there are a bunch of seams, zipper seams of all the sides. And many of them are lifted up maybe 1-2 feet. And it's that cross ventilation, that cross draft that's keeping the air moving. So the engineers have been have looked at this in a very scientific way, and everybody signed off on it. But that's our number one thing. So I ask this, if you ever complain about it being too cold in there, understand that the reason why it might be a little too cold is we have to let enough fresh air in there to circulate and go out, come from one side and go out the other. So that's what we're doing. Again, and we're just trying to create more spaces so people can spread out and be apart from each other. So I don't know, Erin, you and your team's all over it with the tents. Anything you want to add on that?
Mike, I think you gave a great explanation of how carefully we've studied the safety in the tents for the activities, whether it's dining in the dining tents or lounging in the lodge tents. But what I would emphasize as well is that similarly, we feel good about the safety of those indoor spaces. So as Mike said, the point is really expanding the space that's available because we've de-densified so that students have plenty of space to either lounge or eat. But in both indoor locations or in the tents, the university has studied carefully the ventilation in both locations so you can feel comfortable using either the tents or those indoor locations.
Yeah.
Circulation is definitely key. Up next, we have a question from George.
Hi, my name is George, and I'm a junior living in O'Neill. Keeping in spirit with the HERE campaign's commitment to transparency, I'm wondering if the university is aware of and has any comment on the rideshare shortage in the local area. I know Uber and Lyft have both confirmed they're operating at 20% capacity, but they can't comment on why specifically for South Bend.
Let's go over to our HERE team and see if they have any comments.
Are we going to arm wrestle over this one?
I love this question. Was it George?
We're so glad you asked.
Is this George? Was it George? Did I miss that, Amanda? Was that
George?
Yeah, I think it was George.
Great. That might be my favorite question of the night. Okay. Transparency. I'll just be brutally honest. We don't have a thing to do with Uber and Lyft. Even under non-COVID times, even in the best of times pre-COVID, we couldn't do anything with Uber Lyft. And so I'm proud to say that, mark it down, put it in the book. The university has had zero to do with either Uber or Lyft on the capacities. Now, that's up to each of them of what they're doing. So I don't know if they have driver shortages. I don't know what's driving it, no pun intended, but it's not us. Yeah, that's a great question. It's I think people sometimes think the university has more influence than we really do in certain areas. And this is one, I don't care if it's game day. I don't care if it's pre-COVID. I don't care if it's today. This is something that we don't have any influence on. So I don't know, Erin, unless you did something, Erin, I don't know about.
I did nothing. Unequivocally, please. I'm so glad that George asked. This is not the university. And so there is no conspiracy theory, nothing to see here in terms of reduced Uber or Lyft capacity. Hopefully rumor debunked.
I tell you, Amanda, these are the kind of questions I want. If this is what's on students' minds, this is what they should ask. I love this. I didn't see that question coming, but I love that question.
I guess just drivers don't want to go out in the snow or catch COVID, so there's been lower numbers. Anyway, our next question comes from Julia Norton.
Hi, my name is Julia Norton, and I'm a freshman in Pascagoula East. My question is, in response to the policy changes in the dining halls, is there any possibility of expanding grab-and-go hours to accommodate more students? Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for that question. Let's hear from Mike.
I'm going to give
Mike, you got one, or you want me to
I'm giving that to you, Erin. I'm going to give that to you because I don't know the answer to it, genuinely.
No, in fact, this is one that we did check with our colleagues in campus dining because we had seen it come up on the questions. And the answer is, I think we've offered what we can on grab and go in terms of hours, but they've been very intentional across the other outlets on campus to make sure that there are late options open, both available on weekdays and on weekends if students need to pick something up at a very unusual time. And so hopefully that's an occasion they can find all the hours on the website, whether it is for Subway or the C-store if they want to pick up something particularly late, but there are those late night options in other locations beyond the dining halls and the grab and go.
Our final question is going to come from Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam Bosio, a junior in Keenan Hall. My question for you is, are there plans to open the indoor track and climbing wall in Duncan Student Center for at least limited capacity this semester? Thank you.
I would also like to add to that about basketball availability because that was a frequently asked question as well.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. So I'll take a couple of those, and I wish I had better answers, but in the spirit of the questions here, I want to be candid and upfront and to say basketball is a no this semester, and why, right? It's indoor and it's close contact, right? So it hits two of the higher risk areas that we see for transmission of cases on campus. The situation for the track is no, but for a different reason. And that's actually because we have moved equipment around in a way, in Smith in particular, so that we can open as many fitness machines as possible. And so we can't obviously have students, faculty, or staff on the track when we have spread out those those pieces of equipment. So we're really prioritizing what we talked about earlier, which is those slots for folks to come in and work out during the day. Let me give a little bit of hope on the last one. And some of this depends, I think, on our ongoing case count. But there is a lot of thinking, a lot of benchmarking that the rec team is doing in terms of climbing and bouldering to try to see what might be possible. I don't want to promise an absolute yes, but that's one we think might have some possibility depending on how case counts progress and what we learn from peers over the course of the semester. But sadly, basketball's a no because of the nature of the activity, and the track is a no because we've prioritized those fitness machines for now. Hope that helps.
It definitely does. Thank you again, Erin and Mike, for taking the time to join us for tonight's Student Town Hall and for answering these questions. There is no clear roadmap on how to navigate a university through a pandemic. We appreciate the work that you and your team have done for the university to keep us here and safe. Thank you to everyone also for joining us tonight. We hope you have found this town hall to be informative. Students, I know there are more questions you would like us to answer about the university's COVID response, so please go to here.nd.edu/townhall and submit your questions for the next Student Town Hall event. I hope that tonight showed that your questions are truly welcomed, even the difficult questions. We look forward to seeing you at the next Student Town Hall event.